Welcome, comic lovers. Old comic guy coming back at you with a continuation of that massive haul I got over Phoenix Fan Fusion, the comic book cons weekend. Again, I didn't go to the con. Instead, I went to Monster Comics, who also didn't go to the con and was running a special to try to collection that hadn't been gone through. He'd taken out the big books, but hadn't been looked at by customers or anything else he brought out. He'd gotten it, like I said, in the first part of this a couple of year ago, and he just really hadn't had a time. He has a lot in his backstock that he's trying to work through. I'll be honest, it probably seems like a never-ending battle. And then he buys collections throughout the weeks, and so oftentimes you buy a big collection and it gets put back, and then you're dealing with those small collections, so you just end up with a lot going on. And so he brought it out. He brought it from the storage unit, and I decided, instead of spending the money to go to con to then eat there, which is expensive, plus I usually go with somebody, so it's usually one of my kids or my wife, and so you got to feed them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it does add to the expenses. So I decided, why not just go down and buy a bunch of comics? And I shared a bunch of the stuff, and I just have a bunch more. And I'm going to go through it, and we'll go through it as quick as we can. Then I'm going to talk about some stuff because I just can't help it. And so let's begin. We made it all the way through the Invaders, so let's continue that process. And now we're on to All-Star Squadron. So not a complete run, but issue 1, issue 2. And if you don't know the story about All-Star Squadron, I'm a huge All-Star Squadron fan. This is something that Roy Thomas had always wanted to do. He'd wanted to do the Justice Society of America characters. And he got the opportunity to do it. It's near and dear to my heart. There's a video on the channel, a comic chat, one of my first comic chats, where I tell you why I collect comics. And this is one of the reasons. Issue 5. Firebrand has been established. That is Danette Riley, named after his second wife, Dan, who's legally changed her name to Dan. So her name's Dan. 6, who's also a comic book creator and co-author with him on many, many things over the years. 7. Sadly, this is not a complete set, but it is very close. And I, of course, am always looking for All-Star Squadrons. I buy them up all the time. I need to have as many as possible. It's like Pokemon. I gotta get them all. That being said, I've been known to give away sets to friends, and just because I want to establish the love of this that I have. I also am getting complete sets for my grandchildren, of which right now I only have one, and he's like 5 months. He's not reading this thing, right? But I want them so that when he is able to and he's ready, I will give him a set. Issue 13. Now, some of these are in fairly nice shape, some not so much. These are wonderful picture covers in the background that Kubert was doing. Well, lots of companies were doing it, but I thought that was really cool. Some of them are not in great shape at all. 14 is not so white anymore. Could use a good cleaning, a good press, but I don't know that it would save it, but maybe. I mean, I'm always amazed. I see some books that get pressed and cleaned, and I'm like, what? That's not even the same book. But yeah, they look really good. So that was 14, and then we're missing 15. I couldn't find it. We have 16. 17. Commander Steele. He makes appearance and becomes a regular in the All-Star Squadron. He was created by Jerry Conway. Is also not a Golden Age character. I mentioned Power Girl. He is not a true Golden Age character. He almost takes the role of a real Golden Age character, Mr. America, but not quite. I mean, he's a different character, but he does some of the same stuff in his short series. I think it was 5 issues or 6 issues, where he goes behind enemy lines and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty cool. If you get a chance, pick it up. I think it's called The Indestructible Steel, if I recall right. If I recall, that's Jerry Conway who did it. And, of course, it gets used in this. All-Star Squadron originally appeared as a free 16-page pullout in a Justice League. I don't remember which Justice League. It's created by Roy Thomas and Jerry Ordway. Are officially given credit for this, and they're the ones who did it. And it's a pullout, so remember, and I have something coming with a comic chat where I talk about pullouts, and kind of makes you think. This is issue 22. And then 23. And this bad boy right here is the issue. This is why I collect comics. If you get a chance, watch the comic chat video. I might put a link in the description. I think I can do that. I don't know how to put a link on the screen, so if I can, it'll be here. If there's nothing there, look in the description, because I don't know what I'm doing. But that's the reason I collect comics, that issue, which is pretty cool. Issue 24. And oddly, the ones I'm missing from this that wasn't in there, it isn't like they were keys that were pulled out, because here's issue 25. This is a key, first appearance of Infinity Incorporated, which are the children of the Justice League, or the Justice Society. And I don't remember if it's this issue or one of the future issues, has a Todd McFarlane splash page. That's really not what it is. Like a pinup. That was in the back. Issue 26 of Infinity Inc. and what they're expecting the series to be when that would take off. Which doesn't start right away, but will start shortly thereafter their appearance in here. I don't believe Todd actually ends up in the first couple issues, but he does end up as a regular artist on Infinity Incorporated. He'll do some stuff for All-Star Squadron too later. A lot of these were either Rich Buckler or Jerry Ordway through a bunch of it, and then later on Arvell Jones was doing a bunch of them. Wonderful Seven Soldiers of Victory here. And of course, the Justice Society are members of the All-Star Squadron, so they make appearances pretty consistently throughout it, but not always together, so that's always cool. Issue 31. Issue 31 is pretty cool. It has them sitting around a table in the Sphere, so the Triascalon and Sphere from the 1939 World's Fair. That was a real place. It was New York, outside New York. And they ended up sitting there for a while. They weren't actually used. And then the All-Star Squadron ends up using it as their headquarters. Anyway, so there's an awesome scene where all the All-Star Squadron, or most of them, are there in like a semicircle, and they go around, and you get to have a little blurb by each one of the members, and you get to actually see superheroes you had not seen since the Golden Age. So it was really cool. And then, of course, this is where the Freedom Fighters, this is actually where the Freedom Fighters first, you get introduced to them showing up. They were Roy didn't use them until he got Len's permission. He kind of felt they were Len Wen's baby, and like everything I've read about Wen would say that he's just going to say, yeah, go ahead. But it's pretty cool that he actually asked for his permission before he did it. This is number 35. Again, I'm missing some between there. Between, what was it, 32 and 35? 32 and 35. But I did get two number 35. So this one is a newsstand in fairly good shape. And then a direct. And of course the directs now, because we have comic book stores, and we did then, so this was only in the 80s. The early 80s, but 80s. The direct became the ones that were usually in better shape. This is a wonderful buckler cover, and Ordway, but the direct editions just tend to be in much better shape usually. So finding a good newsstand is a big deal. It is. So let's see, that was 36. And then we skip, and I have 38. Another Amazing Man story. Against the Android Real American. Android. It's not at all a person. And that takes over 38, 39, and 40. And remember, these things are being set time-wise 1942. Yeah, civil rights hasn't happened. And they talk about that. So this set kind of gets deep, those three, which is cool. I mean, it's cool. But it definitely has to be written in the time, which was bordering on a problem as you're writing them. The Origin of Starman, awesome. That's 41. And then 42. And I'm not sure if this one or the other one is the one before this is the first appearance of Tsunami. But she's involved. No, that was an earlier one. Never mind. She's on this, and I think at some point they talk about the camps, the Japanese internment camps that we had during World War II, where we put our citizens, our own citizens, in internment camps. Just because we were worried after the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor that some of them might side with their ancestral homes. So it was a really dark time. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I shared that. We have around us where some of those camps were, and you can actually go visit these places. And some of them are not standing and you just see the remains. Some of them are still standing. Yeah. Historically, it's pretty awesome. When it was happening, not so awesome. Okay. 45. $46. And then here's another key. I don't know if I like the reason it's a key, but it's a key because it's done by Todd McFarlane. I think this is his first cover work, and that's why it's a key. I mean, that's okay, but nothing really, it's Dr. Fate's origin. There's nothing really special other than that. They did Starman's origin, they did other people's origins, so like this is just a key because of the artist. and that's fine. It's not his first work. I think they established that as something else. It might be his first, cover appearance, but he was working in comics. He'd already done a couple, like I said, a pinup and some other stuff. So, not to diminish his work, but it's okay. That's all right. 40. What are we at? 48. 48. Okay, 48. 49. 50. This is a Crisis event tie-in, and it's the 50th issue. And a few of these will include some Crisis stuff. So this is 51, of which I found 2, issue 51, so that's kind of cool. 52, still part of that tie-in. 53, and again, there were 2 of those, and anytime I'm always going to pick up everything. I'm hoping to have at least 5 complete sets, and I know a lot of you are thinking, well, don't you already have that? Not really, no. I have more than 5 of certain issues and less than 5 of others, and some I only have like 1 or 2 of. So 54, of which there were 2, and then missing some, right? That's kind of the issue. You end up with some missing some. I'm missing 55 there, and then 56 I found, which is a 7 Soldiers of Victory tale, which is kind of cool. And then another one of those, so that's pretty neat. And then 57, pretty cool there. And then we're missing some again, and we have 59 with those awesome floating heads at the back. I love floating heads. And then issue 60, pretty cool, Justice Society of America. And then I got 2 of those. And then 61, The Origin of Liberty Bell. 62, nice newsstand. Missing 63, 64, 65, Origin of Johnny Quick, 66, 67. So this is the last issue of All-Star Squadron. It had 67 regular issues, and then it had 3 annuals. This is annual 1. This is the direct edition. You can tell here. This is the newsstand. It has the barcode here, and then also has that there. Once in a while you'll find a Canadian one that'll have a Canadian price there. That's awesome too. And then annual 2. This is part of the connection with the Infinity Incorporated. And there's another volume, annual 2. And then I have the newsstand of annual 3. Again, just the price up there. And then the direct edition of annual 3. So pretty awesome. 70 issues in the comics, in the series, and I got most of them. So there's, probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 that were missing, but that was pretty cool. And then while this was going on, issue 67 of All-Star Squadron talks about the sequel to it, but while it's going on, the Infinity Incorporated series started. So let's kind of look at that, because I found some. So in the beginning, it's Roy Thomas and Jerry Ordway. This is just a nice classic cover, I think. Issue 1, issue 2. And you'll see Huntress is part of the team, Power Girl and Starboy, Star Spangled Kid are part of the team in the beginning, before the Crisis. So this actually starts before Crisis on Infinite Earths. There's number 3, number 4. And remember, these are the children of the Justice Society, or some relation. Star Spangled Kid was a Justice Society member near the end. He was 7 Soldiers more than anything else. Power Girl joins up, and Huntress join up with the Justice Society, so they're considered members of it. So pretty cool. Infinity Incorporated, but the other ones were all children. This is number 7, so again I'm missing number 6, number 8, number 9, number 10 with Ultra Humanite with the I Win. And then another cover that I just think is so awesome, and it's a Jerry Ordway cover, but this is number 11. I just think this is a really, really awesome cover. Pretty cool. Number 12. And Roy has been setting up a reveal that hasn't been revealed yet. And I think it's revealed in the annual, so we'll get to that near the end. But throughout this, Jade and Obsidian fighting Green Lantern, and then the appearance of Rose and Thorn making an appearance, was right before the annual, where they revealed that they're the children of the Golden Age Green Lantern. Then we have 14, the introduction of Chroma, and then so at this point, this is where Todd's in now, right? Yeah, so that was the first, and then Todd's in with this one, so Todd McFarlane, it becomes a regular artist, and then we have 15, still dealing with Chroma. And then 16, so I think, if I recall right, at the end of this, Mr. Bones appears, and then this is his first cover, and he's in this. Again, Todd's now involved, part of the Helix creation, with Roy, obviously. 17. And this character is named Arak after Roy and Dan's character, Arak. So that's kind of cool. And then we have issue 18. This is a rough cover. The white did not hold up real well. It was probably left exposed. A cleaning might improve that, but it's okay. And then we have, during the Crisis, again, we've hit Crisis time now, as of this one. So during the Crisis, this is number 19, we have the Justice Society, or Infinities, going against the Justice League, and Commander Steel and his grandson Steel, which would have made sense to go into, but he was used elsewhere, and that's okay. But it would be cool. Would have been awesome to have him leave and go there. That would have been, yeah. Anyway, Crisis is still going on. We have another awesome cover. Just a pretty cool cover while everything's falling apart. And we have the new Hour Man, Rick's costume, and a new Dr. Midnight, Beth Chapel. So that's cool. Again, we're still with McFarlane and Roy Thomas, and we're still in the Crisis. So there we go. Issue 23, classic Solomon Grundy. Obviously, the Crisis affects these guys drastically. They're not on a different Earth. They're now going to be part of the same Earth as everyone else. Weird, because now but your parents don't exist or are being rewritten. It's kind of weird. And then they introduced Joni Thunder and Infinity Inc. Pretty cool. 26. Yolanda Montez is the new Wildcat. And then there's Brainwave, and they kind of show like how they're dealing with Fury. Originally, Fury is Hippolyta Trevor, the daughter of Steve Trevor, and Wonder Woman, named after her grandmother, Hippolyta. She goes by Lita. And now that Wonder Woman didn't exist, so things are having to be rewritten, and yeah, having to cope. It's really weird. 28. Another kind of cool, I think that's an homage cover. 29. Throughout this, they're kind of addressing like what's all happening, because the universe is different and it's tough, and they're struggling to adapt with it. So this is in memoriam of the Justice Society. 31. And at this point, All-Star Squadron is still going on. I should kind of put us in timeline. I know it's its own book and it doesn't always tie in, but 32. The Origin of Obsidian in 33. We bring in the Global Guardians. That's a DC creation that they've had for a long time and just don't always use. And they're the heroes from, well, lots of different countries. So, yeah. And if I recall right, this bringing in characters like Fire and Ice will actually get them into the Justice League later on. Because people now know about them. They had forgotten they even existed. 35. With the Injustice Society of America, or Unlimited, the Children of Injustice Society, or some of the children. 36. Pretty cool cover too. 37. This is one of those. It's a white cover. White. Oh man, does not hold up. The Origin of Northwind. And I believe this is. McFarlane's done. This is it. He's off the series for a while. I don't recall if he comes back. He goes on. I think this is when he goes on to Marvel and ended up doing the stuff with Spider-Man that really like skyrocketed him. Right. So again, most of the Infinity Incorporated. There was a couple that we were missing down here, but for the most part, they're all here. 39. 40, Star Spangled Kid is now Skyman. 41. $42. And Bones has joined with them for a while. Mr. Bones does. Infinity Inc. 44. And then I love that they crossed over with some of the other characters. So here's a new Teen Titans crossover. This is issue 45, which is just cool. Millennium Week, so we're crossing over with the Millennium event, and this is issue 46. The new Harlequin is here. 47. Origin of Nuklon. 49. Silver Scarab comes back as the new Sandman, an old Kirby Kirby creation. I'm pretty positive on that. Issue 50. And I think at this point, just before this actually, somewhere in there, All-Star Squadron had ended and the Young All-Stars had started somewhere in the 40s. And then we have 51. So again, we're still going along. 52. 53. So they killed Skyman in, I forgot, in this one, 51. Skyman dies. By Solomon Grundy uses Mr. Bones' hand to kill him. So that was it. 53 issues is what the series had, and then it had 2 annuals and a special. So the first annual was right when Crisis was going on, and you actually learn that Rose Thorn was their mother, was Green Lantern's, or Jade and Obsidian's mother. So you learn that here. And then in 2, which is actually a crossover with Young All-Stars. So I guess it had to have been in the late 20s then that that Young All-Stars came about. So this crosses over with Young All-Stars Annual 1. So 2 annuals, again 53, and then the 2 annuals, and then a crossover with the Outsiders in this Infinity Incorporated special, which is kind of cool. So what is that, 61? So 70 in All-Star Squadron, 61 there. Man, so many books. Again, this was such a huge haul. I'm going to try to get through this last bit because it's the last little chunk, and then we'll wrap it up. So I mentioned they talked about the Young All-Stars. Well, guess what? I found a pretty close to complete set, if not a complete set, of the Young All-Stars. This is just a really set of awesome covers. So Arn Monroe first. So Arn Monroe, Tsunami. And these are the main players in the Young All-Stars. Flying Fox. Arn Monroe was taking the place of of Superman in the history of comics. Flying Fox was taking the place of Batman. Neptune Perkins, Aquaman. Even though Aquaman really wasn't in the Justice Society, that's why him and Tsunami kind of just are their own. They're kind of all trying to replace the big 3, which is Flying Fox, Arn Monroe, and Fury, who are replacing Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman from the Golden Age, is what they're trying to do, or what Roy was trying to do. I don't think it really took off because they ended up using somebody different than Fury, and they didn't really explain Batman or Superman. They just kind of ignored their Golden Age times. And Dynamite. So Dynamite's an appearance here because, or he's a member of the Young All-Stars. His mentor, Dan, ends up dying in the first issues, and he ends up still staying a superhero. Issue 7. Issue 8 is in Millennium crossover. 9, still Millennium crossover. 10, this starts telling the tale of the Gladiator from Philip Wiley's novel The Gladiator, which is Hugo Danner, and they use him as being Arn's father, biological father. Issue 11, 12, and throughout this series they address all of the characters fairly okay, especially spending extra time with the new characters to try to make them ingrain them into society, if you will, or into the comic history. That must have been a challenge for Roy to actually write these guys into history in place of characters like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Deathbolt is here, and we do have seen him in All-Star Squadron. The Dizan Inheritance. This is going into Neptune Perkins's history, touching on the Thule and all sorts of old science fiction stuff that really deep in the science fiction community. Roy must have, obviously was huge into that, or at least read a lot of it, which is kind of cool. Vril. And then we have the Young All-Stars, number 20. And then we go into Adam and Evil, 1 through 5. This introduces a new Axis group, who will be the, also, this is the first Huntress. I think she's going by Tigress in this. She's the first Huntress who is a villain, actually. So that's kind of cool. So these are the young counterparts of the villains. Or good guys and fighting the villains. They're just all kind of, they're the good guys. They're the foreign nations. And then we have Seawolf, who's a villain, part of that Axis America, or later would become Axis America, but part of the Axis powers. And then, of course, Ubermensch, and of course Baron Blitzkrieg is here as their leader or whatever. 26. And then we have a pretty cool Dave Simmons cover to kind of reminisce the time. What did you do during the war, Fury? Then we have 28. And this is what happened to Hugo Danner. Where did he end up? Sort of story arc. So taking up from where the Gladiator ended and kind of evolving that into the Sons of Dawn story arc. which leads us to issue 31, which is the final issue of Young All-Stars. So it ends with issue 31. Big tie-in with a bunch of the All-Stars, and then of course the All-Stars, the Young All-Stars are just considered All-Star Squadron members after that. There was an annual, which is, as I mentioned, the tie-in with Mechanic. So, and Per Degation. So there they are. And pretty awesome. This was the haul. Some of these books are in rough shape. Some of them are not bad. Most of them are actually not bad. And just a great deal to just get a bunch of stuff. And then, of course, because I spent a lot of money on this huge sale that he did, he has this box. He has a card, and then when you fill the card, when you spend $25 or more, it gets initialed and the date, and then when you fill the card, like a punch card, right, you get to draw from the box, and you draw a comic, and all you see is the back side of the comic, right? So you can see that he put near mint here. That's what I get to see. If I'm really looking, the idea is you just don't look and you reach and you grab, and some of them are anywhere from $5 to about $15. I filled my card a couple times, so I've got to do that. He also does things where if you spend, especially on deal days like this, where if you spend more than $100, you get to draw. And I did, so I got to draw, and I drew this. And it is this, which is pretty awesome. Just so cool. So this is the origin. This is part 1. So this is the first. So origin 1. This is, I don't know how many there's been. I don't recall. When they started making more, I thought that's just weird. So anyway, it's the origin of Wolverine. Pretty cool. And this is the first issue. So pretty awesome. And it was free. I love free, right? All right. So a massive haul, like I said. Definitely, it's more than a small box. In fact, it fills a small box and then partially fills a second small box. More than partially, more than a bag's worth, right? So it's pretty awesome, and I was pretty stoked. I probably spent about the same as I would if I was at the con, right about. And actually, it's still probably less. To be honest, that's still probably less. Because if I'd have got something signed, I'd have paid for that. And I wasn't real happy with the con last time. It had some okay stuff, but just the expense was too much. I'd rather just buy the comics. What do I have? So we have a big thing coming up on Father's Day. There's a comic chat. Please watch it. It's my thank you to you guys. And I'm going to do something special, at least for one lucky subscriber. I'm going to try to do something special. So if you like it, please, if you like the content, please subscribe, hit like, comment, share, all of the normal stuff. And we'll be coming at you with some more hauls and as much as I can do, right? So have a wonderful time. Please take care of each other and have a good day.